Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar on starting a successful waxing business. My name is Luis Rodriguez, and I am the Director of Franchise Sales for UKW Franchising. We own and operate the franchise for UK Wax Studios. So I am really excited to be here because this subject, starting a successful waxing business, can be a daunting experience with a lot of moving parts to consider. There's build out, there's permitting, there's contractors, there's vendors, there's suppliers, there's waxers, there's building a customer base, there's marketing, and these are just mentioning a few. So for these and other reasons, a lot of eager entrepreneurs gravitate to UK to lower their risk, to make running their business easier, and to provide a solid bottom line. So today, we'll cover lots of important points. So it's likely that we'll address some of yours, but please write down any questions you might have. And if we haven't talked about your specific question, by the end of our session, be sure to ask. Also, keep an eye open for our next webinar where we'll feature a different guest and a different perspective into the world of waxing franchises and franchising in general. So stay tuned. I'd like to begin by welcoming our UK Wax Studio guest, Luly Nunez. Luly, welcome. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's actually an honor and a privilege for me, so I appreciate the invite.
Well, we're the ones who are honored because Luly opened her first UK Wax Studio in West Miami in 2008. Before opening her first location, Luly was operations manager at an architectural firm where she still works part-time. She's been a client since 1999. Her passion for the UK Wax brand, the products and the services, and the pride she takes in running a successful studio in Kendall, Florida, shine through every word she speaks. And you can tell, you'll hear it. Luly, your current studio is in Kendall, Florida. Take us back to when you started looking at UK. What was your life like and your work like back then?
Gosh, well, as you said, I started looking at UK back in 2007. At that time, I was actually a shareholder and an operations manager for a very successful architectural firm in Coral Gables, Florida. So as you can imagine, life was hectic, but I was content. I'm always running. I like to stay busy. And I had been a customer for UK since 1999. So I knew the quality of the wax, I knew the attention to detail, and I knew the brand was solid. So we decided to go to a meeting just to hear about, becoming a franchisee. And let me tell you, right after that meeting, it was a no-brainer. The vision, the commitment to excellence that corporate had and spoke about was eye-opening. It was great. We saw the potential for success. And a year later, we opened our first studio. And here I am.
Wow. Well, we're sure glad you took that step. But what made you decide to look at our brand specifically?
The fact that I had been a customer, I think that speaks to it. I had been a customer for about almost 10 years. And I had visited different studios. I had seen the brand. I had seen the quality of the product. I had seen the way the waxers all worked seamlessly. And it was a great franchise. Everything was done to the T, no matter what studio you visited. And like I said, once I went to corporate and I saw their vision, and I heard about their vision and their commitment to excellence and to being extraordinary, it was it was something I had to do. I wanted to be part of that organization, and I knew they were going to go places.
Well, and thanks to franchisees like you, we've gone places for sure. Now, what ultimately made you decide to become a franchisee? You talked about some of the things that got you to corporate and everything, but what was the thing that pushed you over the edge?
I wanted to own my own business. Corporate world, it's it's a 9 to 5, and it's tough. I wanted to be able to have a voice in my own business. I wanted to be able to be part of an organization that listened to us as well. And I wanted to have a relationship with an organization that was part of a teamwork. And I could see that. I could see that it wasn't corporate telling us what to do. It was it was two relationships coming together to improve and to be successful together. And the only way, corporate is successful is if their franchisees are successful. And
That's for
you
sure.
know,
Yeah,
so
that's very true. Now, back then, it was a different world. I mean, we've built up a lot of benefits, a lot of support, and everything since then. But so, what was your biggest challenge in setting up a waxing business?
um, honestly, this is going to sound trivial, but the biggest challenge was actually probably just my own fears. Um,
Okay.
I I had never owned a franchise. I had never been, yeah, I'd been a shareholder, but never really been a franchise owner. Um, so I lacked knowledge, but so it was a lot. It was new. It was all new to me, and I knew that I had to learn a lot. There was a lot of information, like you said. There was a lot of little things that had to happen for us to open our studio. There was a lot to take in, but the moment you realize that you have an organization like Unike backing you, and they, starting from the leaders, they are there for you every step of the way, whether it's opening your studio, whether it's helping you train your waxers, your lab assistants, whether it's just helping you with the product, the knowledge, just anything. And you know that you have that backing there, your fear subsides. And you realize that you can do this. And you don't need to have this great franchise education, a degree on any of this, because you have that support there, that network of professionals that are going to help you hit the ground running.
You
So
sure did. Wow. Well, now, and over time, and that was your fear was your biggest challenge in the beginning. So, do you have any ongoing challenges that you see as part of this business?
sure, after owning, being an owner for 11 years, any active business has challenges. It's every day. There's little things that just take place. But I think what those challenges are minimized when you realize that you can pick up the phone and call corporate and say, "Hi, I have this issue. Can you help me?" And you have a network of people that can say, "Yeah, we had that same issue happen in this studio. Let me tell you some solutions. Let me give you some suggestions." And they do that, and you're going, "Oh, that's great. Thank you." And you don't have to solve the challenges by yourself. Yes, you're an individual franchisee, but you always have this backing that's there, and it's phenomenal because you kind of say, "Oh, I'm a little powerful. I can do this." And if I make a mistake, I can call and say, "Help me."
Well, and it sounds a little cliche, but in franchising, we say you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself.
And
That's
that is so true. That is incredibly true.
well. So we talked about challenges. Let's look at the other side. What would you say has been your proudest moment as a Unike Wax Studio owner?
I'd have to say the day that our opening day for our first location. That was proud. It was like we did it. We we finally opened our doors, and that was a really proud moment because it was a dream come true for somebody who had never owned a business, who had never been a franchisee. Everything came together, everything came into place at the right time, and it happened.
Mhm.
But this is going to sound a little silly, but I'm I have proud moments every day. Anytime that I walk into that studio and I see a client just laughing and bonding with their waxer and just sharing their experiences as they're having their services done, that's a proud moment. As I walk through the studio and I see just, you know, people enjoying the service, saying, our service was great. The service was great. Thank you so much. Thank you for this product that you put out. Those for me are proud moments. Um, as silly as it sounds, it's
Not at
part of
all.
the success story. Every day for me, I'm thankful. I'm grateful that I have this studio, and now with this new brand and the new logo, I honestly I find myself at times at night just looking at that new logo by the lights, and I'm thinking that's so pretty. That's
That's kind of
amazing. I'm
cool,
thinking
isn't it?
I'm really proud. I'm really proud to be part of this organization. I love it. So for me, proud moments happen all the time.
Wow. Well, we're proud to have you for sure, and you do make us proud. Um, Now, go back to that first studio. How long did it take you to break even on your first studio?
Um, I want to say somewhere around the 90-day period, about
Wow,
90 days.
that's
And
pretty good.
yeah, and I'm going to tell you a story here that it speaks to the brand, the solid of the brand and the organization that we had. Because about after 90 days, we broke even and we looked forward. And we opened that center in 2008. And as some people may recall, 2008, 2009
Hmm.
were tough economic years.
Sure.
And somewhere around mid 2009, we found ourselves being one of 5 tenants left in our shopping center.
Ooh.
And yeah, and it's scary. But what the success part of this was that UniK was right there along. The other tenants were people like Bonefish Grill, Cold Stone, these big national brands that you think are huge. And here was, to say it, little old me, UniK. I'm like, we're still here. And we didn't close, we didn't back down, we still broke even. And it was amazing. It was amazing that even in hard economic times, we made it through. And that speaks such high level of this organization and this brand.
That is a great story because there's so many businesses that closed their doors back then. Even some
Yeah,
that had a lot of support from big corporate entities. So that speaks not only to Unique Corporate, but that speaks to your tenacity and your willingness to engage with corporate.
yeah. And I say this because it's amazing, but it's a fact. It was we made it through the tough time.
So, what would you say is the most frequent comment you get from customers?
Um, how much they love our wax.
The wax.
So, believe it or not. And it's funny because we'll have clients that stray and they go somewhere else or something, and then they'll come back and I'll be sitting at the front desk and they'll say, I got to tell you, I went to such a place and what do you all do with the wax? It's so much better. And I tell them, I'm like, I tried telling you that. I mean, and I tell my clients, I was a client for almost 10 years before I was a franchisee. I'm telling you, there's nothing better out there. The quality is unparalleled. And they'll they'll say, yeah. And then they look at me like deer in the headlights, and I'm going, I told you, you didn't need to go astray, only to come back. So yeah, I get that. I get the fact also that we're very professional in the way we conduct our business. Um, it's our studios are beautiful, they're professional, but definitely the wax is a big deal.
Okay, well, that's a great comment because that in the short time I've been with Unikay, that's something that just keeps coming up over and over. Gosh, the wax, there's nothing like it out there. So,
There
so
isn't.
that's very nice, and the fact that we make it here, it's a proprietary formula. No other studio has it. It's made right here in the USA in Miami. So that's kind of cool. Um, so here's kind of an abstract question that I have for you. So if you, now knowing everything that you know, if you could talk to the Luly from when you started with Unikay, what would you tell her?
Huh. Um, I probably sound like a life coach. I'd be like, they're motivating them at, at the end of the finish line. But to be honest with you, I would probably tell her, thank you. Thank you for making your dream come true. Thank you for fighting those fears and having the vision to do this. Thank you for, believing in this organization and getting the job done and congratulating her for getting, the job done and for doing well. And
And just sounds like you're saying, trust yourself here, you know? Yes.
yes, that's what I always tell people. Knowledge. It's don't be afraid. Just and fight the naysayers because this is a
Oh,
good
you mean
product.
there are people, so there were people that said, oh my gosh, that's a crazy idea. That's never going to work. How can you do that? There's no Unikays. There's all of that. And you heard all of that.
I heard it all, and that's why if I could tell anybody that's interested now, say, don't listen to that. Listen to the voice in your head that says you can do this. This is a great business. There's such potential for success. Do it. Get it done. That's what I would say.
That's a very interesting comment. I like your motivation. You seem like a very motivated person. And that speaks a lot to the type of franchisee that we like because, attitude is half the battle.
Yeah,
It
it is.
really is. So, and you're brimming with attitude. I love it. Now, now that you've been in the waxing business for several years, Luly, if you had a spyglass, if you had a telescope, what do you see looking forward?
Well, we've had a really good year. This year has been phenomenal for us as a franchisee, for corporate, for the brand. Um, we, we're really keeping up with innovation and technology and doing great things. So actually, I'm excited. I'm
Hmm.
excited in what awaits us. I'm excited in hopefully participating in that success, being part of it. Um, I'm I'm excited about what's ahead.
Sure.
And that's the good thing about this organization and this brand. They continually want to grow. They're not linear. They're open-minded. They realize that we have to evolve as a brand. We have to grow. And so for me, I'm always looking forward to that, to growing, not stagnating, and seeing how we can improve. Because there's always room for improvement everywhere
Sure.
to better serve our clients and their needs. And I'm sure the leaders will eventually let us know what else we can do to stay on top, to be the best in our field, in our industry. So I'm excited.
Well, I am too, and you just hit on something that was a big motivation for me joining Unikay is I saw that vision. I saw forward thinking. I saw people who weren't standing still, who were saying, how can we take this to the next level and really provide value as well? So that was pretty exciting to me. And well, obviously I'm here. I bought into it. I'm very excited. So I have one last question for you, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A to anyone who would like to ask a question. Um, what's the single most important piece of advice you'd give to someone looking to open a waxing studio?
not um, knowledge, having complete knowledge of the business, of the industry, is not critical to you becoming a franchisee. You don't need to have this great knowledge not to know everything from the start. Corporate will guide you that, you know, but what you need to have is you need to have commitment to excellence. You need to have a passion for the long haul. This is not a short-term business. This is a long-term business. This is your future. So you need to have faith. You need to trust the system. You need to be committed to the process.
Mm.
And I can tell you from my experience, you're going to have great results if you just stick with it. And I don't think you'll be disappointed, but don't don't fret over the small things. The small things, corporate will guide you. You as an individual need to know and have a passion for this business and trust
That's
it.
that's a really good comment. I've heard that concept put in different ways, and kind of the analogy that I like to make is you don't have to be a mechanic to love driving, right?
Yeah, it's true.
That it's kind of that way. You don't have to know how an internal combustion engine works and how all the parts work in order to be able to be a great driver.
You're right.
So that
And
is
I
a
think we get stuck. Yeah, we get stuck in, I need to know everything. I need to make sure I can do it all. No, that's what corporate is there for. You know, just make sure that you are committed to excellence, to being the best franchisee, committed to the product, committed to just being extraordinary. And, you know, it'll happen.
some people get, unfortunately, and I've in my career in franchising, I've seen it. I call it analysis to paralysis.
Yeah, they don't do anything until everything is set, you
Right,
know, and
right.
then you never do anything. You never get off the ground.
Unfortunately, but gosh, these are all great comments. So I'm going to open it up to anyone at the Q&A. Please, any questions from our attendees? Anyone would like to ask something of? This is your chance to get some really good feedback from Luly. Let's see what people might have. You should have a Q&A button and be able to ask anything you want. And I'll remind you that if you can't think of a question, or if we did such a good job that
Wow.
all of your questions were really covered, we're going to post this video on YouTube so people can watch it. And we'll be covering other subjects in future webinars. So we'll give them a couple minutes to ask any further questions. And while they're thinking of these burning questions that they might have, Luly, there are several people in attendance here. You did this with your husband as well.
Yeah,
And
we did.
he was, I guess your partner in this to
Yeah,
start.
he is.
Oh,
Yes, he still is. And the staff loves him. He's not there as I'm there, obviously, on a day to day. I do the managing, but they still love him. And sometimes he'll come in and he'll fix something, and so they end up calling him Bob the Builder. And he's been able to build a relationship with the staff as well. So this is not something that just is for a woman or a female to do. This is a partnership. My husband is just as involved, and I'm always bouncing off ideas, and he'll actually call corporate and say, "Hey, what about this? What about that?" So it's not limited to just one person.
okay. All right. Well, that is great because, and that's going to segue into one of the parties who have asked a question. So we have a couple questions now. One of the parties is actually a couple, so we'll address them in a minute. So the first question we got is, what is our competition?
Well, for us in South Florida, we have European Wax is our competition,
Okay.
and I have a European Wax probably about a mile away. And, I always get that question, well, don't they take away your business? And I'm like, no, they don't. I do very well. And actually, we get a lot of their clients. And the reason why we get the clients is,
That's it.
again, the
Tell
wax.
me that. That's interesting.
It's the wax. It's, they'll get clients and we always ask, oh, what made you, come to us, come to Unicare? And they'll say, the wax.
And
Can't
what
compare.
specifically, what trait do they say, what characteristic of the wax do they prefer?
I think mostly it's the fact that it's organic, it's clean, it doesn't have any chemicals. It,
Oh,
they love that.
mm.
They love the fact that the quality of the wax is far superior. And, all these other brands have all these other colored, wax. I don't even know what colors they have, and some do try to imitate the green by somehow, but I don't know. It just, uh, and the clients will come and say, it's the wax. It's so different. And they look like, wow. And so I have a European about a mile away. Doesn't affect me. Not
That is
worried.
really interesting comment because, and the same person is asking a lot of competition questions, and I think we'll take a lot of those offline because how do we compete? Well, that's an easy question, but it has a big answer, and that's part of what we do every day. So we will address that one on one. Now, the couple that wrote in their question, and thank you for your question, Helmut and Patricia. Uh, what was your biggest frustration during the first 2 years?
My biggest frustration was probably trying to understand the employees, the waxers, their schedules, trying to make sure I knew I had the right amount of staff for the busy time, for fluctuating a little bit. So that is a little bit of what you have to kind of go through the first year. You kind of, every studio is different. Not everybody has the same um, seasons as somebody's off season may be my good season, and so forth. So you have to learn to adjust to the book and play with your staff. So that's a little bit of a learning curve. Again, it's something that then I would pick up the phone and ask corporate, and they'd say, you're going to be busy on these days. The metrics say that this is where you need to have more staff. And playing with that was probably a little bit of a frustration because you kind of thought, okay, I'm going to be busy this day, and then all of a sudden you weren't. But then you were busy the next day. So that was a little frustrating, but it wasn't anything that you couldn't, once you get the hang of it and you know your clientele and you know the days you're going to be busy and the slower days, you work with it.
Okay. So that's that. And you said a really interesting term. You mentioned metrics. Because one of the things that's really struck me in my time here is that this isn't just all anecdotal and, oh yeah, do this. It's very data driven
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And
And corporate gives you that, and they will tell you, well, based on your sales and based on the client services, these are your high days, these are your low days, and they work with you to improve that, to continue to understand that better. The longer you're in business, the more you'll know what your weekends are going to be like, your weekdays are going to be like, your good hours, your slower hours. And then they work with you as far as like even that previous question, to market on your slow hours so that we'll send out email blasts. And that's how you beat your competition because you're always looking to see what edge you can get on them. So if you have slow days, you do social media, you do something like that. And that is all driven by corporate and their knowledge, and they're constantly gathering information and doing research for you.
that's a really good point. And we're getting some good questions. So I'm gonna go to another one. This is kind of a general one, but it says, do you have any regrets about any part of your Unicare Wax franchise journey?
I try not to have regrets. I don't,
Okay.
I try not
You're
to
not
look
that type
backwards.
of person, it seems.
Um, I try to stay positive. Have there been challenges? Have been there off days? Sure. But I don't regret. This was for me a dream come true. It's the American dream to open your own business to be successful at it. So any challenges that came along the way were part of the success story for me,
Okay.
you know.
All right. Well, so you took it in stride.
Yeah,
Uh,
and all businesses. I mean, even regular people who have jobs, they're not always happy 100% at their job. They have their good days and their bad days.
sure.
This isn't any different, except this is your business. You get to decide, okay, I had a bad day. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to exhale. I'm going to come back in with a better smile, and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go out there and market myself even better to get more clients tomorrow and have a better day.
Again, love the attitude, and it's probably one of the biggest reasons why you have the success you've had. Now, we have another question. Without giving away secret formulas, and I wouldn't know the formula. If someone were to put a gun to my head today, I couldn't tell you because that's something that Noemi has, and she guards that, and we will never know. Okay,
Yeah, it's like Coca-Cola.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. The question is, in what way does the Unique wax differ from competitors in feeling, applicability, price, etc.?
Again, I don't know the formula either. All I know, it's all natural.
Hmm.
And for me, that's a big selling point. It's going on your skin. I don't want any ingredients that are might be toxic, might not be healthy for you. And Noemi has always been a huge advocate of keeping everything um, organic and healthy and clean. And she's not going to put anything in there that is not good for your health and for your lifestyle. So that's a big seller. That was a big seller for me. But aside from that, it just feels like it just even it just your skin is still smooth after you wax.
Yes,
It feels
that's true.
different. It has whether it's the calming agents or something, it just feels great on you. And it's not gooey and you're not feeling like sticky. Um, and your skin doesn't look like you waxed right after you leave there. And that's again, it's all part of the training and the pre what they do before you wax and what they do after you wax. It's that's again, it's part of a brand that they put together that says this is what we're going to do so that when the client comes in and after they've had their service, they feel great about their service. They're not going, ouch, it hurts. It wasn't a great experience. It's the opposite.
Well, and that was something that was important to Noemi because she is gluten intolerant. So when she would get waxed, that was one of the triggers. When she would get waxed, she'd have a rash and she'd just be hating it afterwards. And personally, I have kind of sensitive skin and I get waxed and I'm good. It's all right. Um, I love it. We're getting more questions. So this is exactly the way it should be. Helmut and Patricia ask, Unique is obviously a great organization and you are a positive person, but there must be something they could do better from your perspective. What would be the point you wish the franchisor should improve on?
Um, that's a question that probably should be left to the organization, and I'm sure there's tons of things that we're always looking to improve. I don't have um, a specific item right now. I know that as far as improvements, I'm sure there's certain methods, and they're doing it because we've had all kinds of webinars of how we're going to take this organization and the franchise to the next level. So whether it's how we check in our clients, how we check out our clients, the point of service system we use might change, all that. Those are things that there's always some kind of improvement. But I know enough from my years of being a franchise that I'm going to run my business and I'm going to let the organization figure out, the research and what else, what's the next step to take us to the next level. In the meantime, I'm going to run it the way it's supposed to be run because it's been successful. So if it's not broken, I don't want to fix it. I don't need to fix it.
Sure, sure. I understand that. Now, I have a real practical question for you. And this is something that in what I do, I get this question often, and this may or may not have been a factor for you. But Jahida asks, how did you overcome the financial aspect of opening the franchise? There's an
Well,
investment.
yes, there's an investment, and for us, we had savings,
Oh, okay.
and
You were ready.
we were ready. We were ready. I know that there were other options to finance it. There's all kinds of other ways of doing it. For
Yes.
us, we had put away some savings, and we were able to do that with our first studio.
And just so to elaborate on that just a tad, we do have third-party financing that specialize in franchise. So if that is an issue, we can certainly put you or put a prospect in touch with a top flight financing source. Here's the another question that we have. Is the all natural formula a big selling point with clients? I can't seem to think many other businesses that advertise that fact. I can't seem to think many other businesses that advertise that fact. I wonder if they're using lower quality materials.
I don't know, but I can tell you that for us, the all natural is a big deal. It's a big factor. It does set us apart. Um, and the fact that there are people that come in, like you said, with sensitive skin that are allergic to other formulas, and they'll come to ours and they're like, oh no, I never get waxed because ours, I always get, and then they try ours and they're like, oh wow, I'm not allergic to it. And it goes back to the fact that it's all natural.
It certainly is, and it even smells good too. It's kind
It,
of.
you know, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to. I have clients that come in and they go, why does your studio smell so good? And I'm like, it's the wax. And they're like, is it really? I'm like, yeah, it's the wax. It's once you're there, and they're like, oh yeah, it does smell good. This is so, and they kind of gotten used to it. But at the beginning, the first time clients always go, what's the smell? It's our wax. The
It's
wax that's here in the lab.
It's the star. It's the star. So I think that was the last question. Anybody else have a question before we wrap this up? I don't want to. I don't want to take too much of time. Oh, here we go. There is. Does the training and advice from corporate end after a certain period of time after you've proven your success? If one was looking for a wide amount of operating independence, franchising in general probably isn't a great route. But if you so desire, is there a level of hands-offness that Unicate can provide? That's a good question, because we talked about being in business for yourself but not by yourself. So it sounds like she's asking, or it's an anonymous attendee. So Mr. or Ms. Anonymous attendee, it sounds like you're asking how intrusive the franchise is. How would you address that question?
I don't think they're intrusive at all. They let us run our studios. They're not there every day. They don't check up on you at all. I think they let you be, but at the same time, even after 10 years, if I have a question or an issue or a challenge, I can pick up the phone, email them, and I have the Noemi, Ozzy, their cell phones. They're there for you. They're willing to call me. Ozzy always tells me, call me whatever you need. So I respect that. I respect that they're both very successful business people, and yet they're willing to take time and listen to a franchisee. So I like that. And at the same time, um, they let me run my studio. Unless there's an issue, they're not there micromanaging you. They're not looking at every little detail. If you're successful, they're not intrusive at all. They don't need to be. They're, like I said, they realize, okay, she's successful. There's a reason. She's following the plan. She's doing all the right things. Let
Let's
her
not
be.
mess with her. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And typically in franchising, it's like a plane. When the plane is taking off, it uses the most fuel, it needs the biggest support and all of that. But once you're at 30,000 feet, the amount of fuel that you need is different. So I think that might be another analogy for it. Any final questions from our attendees?
Can I say something?
Of course.
They, from Noemi, Ozzy, and all the other leaders, they've been in business for years, for years. They know what they're doing. They're not going to be there, on top of you or anything like that. They know what success is like. They've seen it. They live it. They they have a great brand. So
Yeah.
it's it's I'm to be honest, I am proud to be part of this organization. I'm happy that I joined and became a franchisee in 2008. And I know maybe it does sound a little too cliche. Oh, she's too happy. Yeah, I'm happy because I have a success story, and
Mm.
I was able to have a dream come true, and not everybody can do that. And yeah, I mean, it's not roses every day, but at the end of the day, you're making money, you're profitable, and you're doing what you like on your schedule, on your time, and the product. I mean, who's not going to get behind a good product?
That's another reason I'm here. Absolutely. Um, well, the person who asked that question said, "Thank you for answering my somewhat odd question so well. Are you encouraged or incentivized with Unikay to expand to multi-unit franchising if you want and are able to?"
I have a daughter who moved to Texas, and she had, being, her mom, she had been a client of Unikay since she was 11 years old. And then she moved to Texas, and for the last year, she continued to say, Mom, there aren't any here. And now I can't wax. I have to wait to wax till I get home because she refuses to go anywhere else, by the way. And so she continued to say, we need to get one in here. So I don't know. I'm open because I want to be closer to her.
Well, we're going to have
Um,
a chat offline here. The franchise sales guy is going to call you again.
so yes, I'm always open. It's a great opportunity.
um,
Just
Now, Helmut and Patricia have another question. They're a colleague. They're online here from California. So they ask, if you didn't supervise your studio yourself, but rather employ a really good manager, would you still have a reasonable return or just about break even? And,
no, you still have a reasonable return.
okay, how many years did it take you to get to the level you could have theoretically pulled out personally and let the studio be run by a trusted manager?
I've had a trusted manager at in my Kendall location, and she did it for 2 years, and I stepped out. I still was very profitable. She ran it really well, but she ended up moving, and being the person I am, I saw there's an opportunity to get back. And I love being there. I love being part of my studio. I love being involved, staying active. It's a personal choice.
Hmm.
It's not something that you have to do. I go on vacations, I do things, I stay, and I have staff. You have to make sure that you do find trustworthy staff and people that are going to take that business and treat it like their own, when you're not there. And I'm
That's
not
hard to
there every
find.
day, all 24 hours, but I do have people, and I'm a hands-on person, but you don't have to be, which is the beauty again of this business. You
So
can have an assistant manager, a manager, and run it for you.
in your Kendall studio, how long after you had opened your studio did you hire a manager for it?
Probably right after, within, she came on board, and she was the front desk person at the beginning, and then she started growing and growing and learned enough of the business to where she became a manager. So it must have been somewhere after the first year. But
Okay.
it took about a year for her to really go from just booking appointments and just answering the phone to doing everything else, being part of the whole business plan.
Okay. All right.
It was a year.
All right. Well, that's a good answer. Any other questions, folks? We want to be respectful of everyone's time, but these questions are good. Oh, here we go. How many employees did you start with, and how many employees do you have now?
At my West Miami location, I started with four employees, and that's including waxers, front desk, and studio lab. Um, and that was four of them. Then in the Kendall location currently, we have 13 employees.
Wow, that's a big difference. But I'm just assuming you do a lot more volume than you did in West Miami too.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't stay at four though in the West Miami location, but I started with four.
Okay.
But yeah, it eventually grew to about 7 or 8, and then now obviously in the Kendall location I have 13.
Boy, we're getting some good questions, and these are awesome answers, Luly. Jahida just asked, what do you do, if anything, to incentivize your employees to care for the business as if it's their own?
That is my husband's thing. He is constantly going in there and telling them, this is your business. You need to treat this like your business, because it is. The more clients that they do, and they do them well, that's how they're going to have repeat clients.
Mm-hmm.
And the word of mouth, oh, hi, I had this person. She's phenomenal. You should try her. And so he's constantly all about that. He's constantly sitting there with them in the break room and saying, what do you think? What can we do? What's your week like? What do you need? How can we help you? And he's constantly, he doesn't do anything else but talk to them. And we're constantly finding out, and then they'll say, well, I'm not doing well this week, or I'm struggling, and then we'll figure out, okay, so maybe you're not doing enough bikinis this week. Why? Do we need to train you? Do we need to get you up to speed? Are you missing some techniques? So we're constantly trying to figure that out. We also try to have perks here and there, little benefits, that gives back to them, that says, okay, so this month, let's see, you did X amount of services for bikinis. Let's see if you can do more this month, and then we'll give you something in return. We'll take you out to lunch. We'll, constantly. But for the most part, it's about getting employees that have a mentality that this is my business. I have the ability to make as much money as I want to, because you honestly, I don't have a problem if a waxer comes to me and says, can I work all day the day before Labor Day? I'm going to go, yes, you can have that room from 9 to 9, because I know that she is a go-getter. She's ambitious, and she's going to make money. And the moment she makes money, she is going to continue. That's her incentive as it is.
Wow. So she's also in business for herself, but not by herself.
Not by herself.
It goes down the line.
Yeah.
That
I'm
is
her support system, and I have a support system.
That is a great comment. Now, here we have another question, and I love that we have the questions. And your voice is holding out pretty darn well, by the way.
Thank goodness.
um, it says you mentioned being located in Miami. Does that area provide particular interest for waxing, being the coastal and near tropical? Do you believe the interest is present and comparable in other areas of the country? I kind of have an answer for that, but you're the expert.
I think Miami is great to have a waxing business, but I think you can have a waxing business anywhere. It is, it's something that all across the United States people want to do. It used to be where people thought, oh, I'm going to the beach, I need to get waxed. Now it's a way of life. People want to be hairless. So it doesn't matter whether it's cold weather or hot. For me, as a client, it didn't matter to me. I had a budget and I was there every month, whether it was cold or hot, because it was important for me. It was part of my lifestyle. And I don't even like the beach.
Okay, well,
I don't have sun. I don't get wrinkles. So,
but it seems like, and correct me if I'm misstating this, it's more about not so much weather as it is about image. It's about personal appearance and feeling good.
yeah, it has, yeah, it's your lifestyle. It's something that it's like, you know, women put on their night cream. Waxing is part of their routine. It's something that they do, whether or not they live in Kansas or they live in Miami. It's part of their everyday. It's like having breakfast.
Oh, okay. Well, I was curious.
Turn on the light for whatever reason. My lights turned off. Give me one
Oh,
second.
okay, no problem. I thought it was me for a minute. I thought, well,
No.
maybe the 80s were really good to me or something.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So that brings me to another point. Talk to me about men getting waxed.
It was interesting because when we opened our first studio back in 2008, we probably had one man, one or two come in every week. It was very little, not very many. And that industry has just taken off. Men, we have, obviously we don't have, it's not the same
Sure.
ratio, men to women, but it's huge. And what's even more interesting, we have, at least in our Kendall studio, we'll have couples that come in and they both get waxed. And the wife is saying, I'm bringing my husband because he needs to get waxed. And it's it's very normal. It's, again, and it has nothing to do with the men wanting to go to the beach or anything like that. It's just, once again, it's about their appearance. It's about wanting to have clean eyebrows. It's about having their legs waxed, their arms. And it might have been less than 1% or 1% of the industry at that point, and now it's taken off. We get men all the time, every day, every single day in our studio. We get men that visit, and like I said, they visit and they're being sent by their wives.
I'm married to the missing link. Help, you know? Sure. That makes sense. And I can say for one, my girlfriend is a lot happier since I started waxing. So I understand.
I have a 22-year-old son, and right before he left the college, he's like, Mom, can I go get waxed? Yes. And my husband, he's like, you need to go get waxed those eyebrows. You can't start school like that. I'm like, is this the same man I married? My husband never had waxed before. And now he's telling our son he needs to go get waxed. It's just, again, it's a way of life. It's something that we as humans have evolved and realized it's part of our routine. It should be part of our routine.
That is, I have incorporated into my routine, so I totally get that. Any other questions for Luly? Okay. Well, gosh, remember we had been talking, we said, well, we might go to half an hour if we're lucky and all of that. And here we are pressing up on an hour, and it seems like the time has just flown by. thank you for your insight, for being so generous with your time and your experience, Luly. And anyone who needs a great wax, you know where to go. She's in Kendall. She's on our website, our Kendall office, our West Kendall office. Go get wax at her studio. You can't go wrong. Luly, you're a superstar in Unikay. Thank you. And to everyone who's in attendance, thank you for being here. Call me. We can talk about getting you set up in your studio and get you to a Luly type superstar level very soon. Thanks again, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Appreciate it.
It's
Thank
been
you.
our honor. Thank you. Bye-bye.